After eavesdropping on a conversation between his father and two men, Nathan saw red. He vowed to protect his newfound family, no matter what kind of uphill climb he faced to get better. One of the two men had insinuated that Nathan was weak, and while the former inhabitant of Nathan's body may have been weak, the current one wasn't. The two men tried to persuade Ulrich Hayfield to give up his noble status, which meant relinquishing his property and home. In 3 years, when the Hayfield family's status came up for evaluation during the nobility exam, the men warned Ulrich he would probably be reduced to a commoner, given that he has been unable to live up to his expectations of a noble. Nathan fumed at the thought that these men wanted to take away everything the Hayfield family had. If it took everything he had, he was going to get better, grow stronger, and defeat his family's enemies. Nathan racked his brain to figure out why Jason Clay, the kid who had tried to kill him, had it out for Nathan. The memories uploaded into his brain provided no answers, so one day he asked Ulrich, "Father, why did Jason Clay beat me almost to death?" Ulrich cast his eyes downward and shook his head. "The Clay family is one of a few powerful families who have it out for us. They believe we're weak and not pulling our weight. I'm sorry, Nathan. Disagreements between adults should never trickle down to the children, who are the future of this world." Nathan straightened his lips. "Do they want our house and our land?" Ulrich, surprised at how perceptive his son was, nodded. "Yes, they want to give our property away to someone else, someone whom they think is more deserving of it." "Who?" Ulrich's brows knitted together. "You should not have to carry this burden, Nathan. It is my burden." Nathan persisted. "Dad, who do they want to live here instead of us?" Ulrich shrugged. "I don't know, son." Nathan's lips formed a straight line. He steeled his resolve to uphold the Hayfield family name. "Well, if I have anything to say about it, we're staying. I'm going to make sure of that." Ulrich's lips curved up into a smile. "You just concentrate on getting better for now. You shouldn't have to worry about my problems, Nathan. I will do everything in my power to protect you and Amelia." At the thought of his older sister, Nathan raised an eyebrow. "Does she know about any of this, that we're in danger of losing our status as nobles?" Ulrich closed his eyes. "No, not yet, and I want it to stay that way for a while. She is just finishing up school, and I don't want to burden her with this." Nathan nodded. "I understand. I'll keep it to myself." Knock, knock. A few days later, Ulrich opened the door to yet another visitor. He recognized the boy to be a classmate of Nathan. "I'm sorry, Nathan isn't available to entertain visitors yet, but I'll tell him you stopped by. Maybe try back in a couple of months when he's feeling more like himself." Nathan overheard the exchange, and even though he would have enjoyed chatting with a friend, he understood why his father kept everyone at arm's length. It was just about Nathan's recovery. It was also about protecting the reputation of the Hayfield family. His father just didn't want prying eyes delving into the family's business, particularly the family's status as nobles. After a month of bed rest and a stream of uninvited inquisitive visitors that Ulrich kept at bay, Nathan's head wound had healed. His muscles no longer ached on a daily basis. It was time to get his body into shape. If he was going to defend himself not just against the little twerp who had done this to him, but also against the powerful nobles in the city who wanted to take down his family. Nathan felt the weight of the world on his shoulders, but he figured it was better being alive in his new body than being dead altogether. The new and improved Nathan wasn't about to let his guard down in this unfamiliar new world. The next day, Nathan went outside, past the vegetable garden, past the flower garden, and into the field behind his large house. Here, he dove back into his regular training routine, the same one from his previous life. The problem was, this new body wasn't as physically fit or as spiritually fit as he was used to. He wasn't sure how far he could push his new body. Can I still use the power of Asura? The power of Asura was a specific form of magic, one that was rare and which wasn't used often. In his previous life, Nathan had mastered the power of Asura, while others, even those who were adept in the mystic arts, couldn't begin to control this type of magic. Its power was unrivaled. Even the most basic Asura spells could shake an enemy to his core. It was obvious to Nathan that the previous owner of this body had never even attempted this type of magic. Overall, when it came to power rankings, the previous Nathan had reached only a level 3 beginner, and that didn't include any Asura spells. This was such a step backward for Nathan that it was almost like starting from square one. Wearing his training gear, Nathan stood in the middle of the open field. The light breeze kicked up his hair, and the warm sun beat down on his face. It felt good to be outdoors. He took a deep breath, squared up his stance, and calmed his thoughts. Nathan needed to master the basics again if he were to raise his power ranking in this world. A level 3 beginner ranking was simply unacceptable, a pathetic achievement for a 12-year-old. There were 4 tiers in the power rankings: beginner, apprentice, master, and divine. Each tier had 9 levels for those to rank up. Nathan intended to move up the ranks as quickly as he could. His first attempt during his training was a move called the Asura Fist. He balled his hand, raised it to his chest, and lunged. As he punched the air, a blue energy glowed from his fist. Nathan dropped his head in disappointment. The glow was nowhere near enough to deliver a blow during a fight. He made a mental note to work on it. His next move was the Asura Eye. Unlike the other move, this was not physical at all. It required immense concentration, but, as Nathan knew from his previous life, it was extremely useful. If mastered, it would allow the user to see through magic constructs as well as detect if someone was lying. Nathan slowed his breathing and focused his eyes dead ahead. His pupils flared with a small blue flame for a moment, but a tremor took hold of his eyes, and he couldn't maintain his focus. So this was another move he was going to have to work on. He spent the rest of the day practicing in the field. As he walked back to the house, Nathan thought about all of the work ahead of him. In some ways, it was almost unsurmountable, and it was frustrating because he had already done this work in his previous life. Over the next couple of weeks, he diligently worked on his moves. He managed to move up to a rank of beginner level 4. Perhaps the biggest sign of progress was his mastery of the move called the Razor Finger, a spell that extended the reach of knives and daggers, and which also increased their cutting power. Nathan grabbed a small dagger, swung it through the air, and toppled a tree in the field. He shouted with glee. He didn't think there was a prayer of the Razor Finger working, but it had worked, and that meant he was becoming more powerful. Nathan realized there was only so much he could do on his own. Truth was, he needed the kind of professional training he could get from school. His father, at least so far, had adamantly refused to allow his son to return to the place where Nathan had almost been killed. "I just don't see the need for it." Nathan drew a deep breath. "Father, you know that my advancement in the spiritual fighting arts is directly tied to our family's nobility status." Ulrich frowned. "Nathan, you're still recuperating. I see you practicing every day. Why would you need to go back to school?" Secretly, Ulrich hated the idea of his son attending the same school where Jason Clay went. The idea of Jason Clay being anywhere near Nathan sent shivers down Ulrich's spine. As a father, he didn't want to take any chances. And so the conversation went over the next couple of weeks, until Nathan finally stopped talking about it. He figured he would give his father a little time before he brought up the topic of school again. In the meantime, Nathan practiced so much that he reached beginner level 5. By now, he had even experienced a noticeable increase in his eyesight and hearing. One evening, after a hard day of training, Nathan, Amelia, and their father sat down for a dinner of pot roast. As Nathan dug into his meal, he kept his voice as casual as possible to broach the sensitive subject of school with his father. "Dad, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've advanced 2 levels in my spiritual fighting arts." Ulrich shot his son a quizzical look. "What level are you now?" "Beginner level 5. Pleased, Ulrich smiled at his son. "That much? I'm impressed. I guess I didn't realize how much progress you've been making all on your own." This was a surprise to Ulrich, because the son he knew and loved never was much of a fighter. It seemed to take him especially long to advance to a new level, and now Nathan was moving up a level in a matter of weeks. It was as if the near-death experience had changed Nathan. Nathan looked his father directly in the eyes. Even though he was just 12 years old, he wanted to make his father realize he was no longer a child, and that he had grown into a capable young man. "I need to return to school to advance to even higher levels." Amelia scrunched up her face as she stuck a forkful of meat into her mouth. "Why on earth would you want to go back to school all the way back in Gogwickshaw? Father forces me to go to school here, and there's nothing I'd like better than to stay home and do whatever I like." Ulrich furrowed his brow. "Amelia, quit talking nonsense. Staying home is not an option for you. You're almost finished with school anyway. It's different for Nathan, because he has been recovering from life-threatening injuries, and besides, the Academy of the Mystic Blades is on a whole other level compared to our local school." "Dad, you know I have recovered. I recovered a while ago. In fact, I'm stronger than I ever was. It's time for me to return to school." Ulrich put down his fork. He didn't want to acknowledge that his son was right, but deep down, Ulrich knew that to be the case. Finally, he relented. "Okay, you may return to the academy." A slow grin quirked Nathan's mouth. "Thank you. I'll start on Monday." Secretly, Ulrich worried, but he knew he couldn't continue to hold his son back.